help if I start it. The best way to reach me is always text. If you need an answer faster. If it's something that can wait till the next day or till that evening, send me an email. But if you need an answer more quickly, I am here teaching 2 full days a week, and then I have a lot of papers to grade and work and stuff to do here, and then my family wants dinner every single night. And so I don't often get to my emails until later in the evening. So text me. If you send me a text, I do not program every parent's cell phone number into my own phone. So be obnoxious about always telling me who you are, so then I don't have to send that awkward "who is this" text. So just assume that I need to be told again who you are every time you send me a text, okay? Okay, this is my family. I've been married to my husband Brent for a very, very long time, and we have all the blonde kids are ours, and we've homeschooled. This is my 20th year of homeschooling. So, and it's my last year. So I made it. I'm gonna retire from teaching my own, but not yours. And my oldest, we have done this for 20 years. We graduated my oldest, and he still loves us, and it actually worked because he got like a real grown-up man job. And he married a lovely young lady, and we have a 2-year-old granddaughter. Her name is Adeline, and they're expecting another baby in March. So excited, it's so much fun. Everything they say about grandparents is so true. It's wonderful. And then Seth and Ellie are seniors, and they are here on campus. They're in the British Lit class, and they're around here doing stuff on campus. And then we have one very perfect Labradoodle named Mocha. I have an amazing assistant this year. Miss Katie Faith is in the back, and she'll be in here handling a lot of administrative stuff, helping with grading and logging homework. She will be my sub if there's something that happens. She is super wonderful, and we're super blessed to have her. So when you hear about Miss Faith, that's who we're talking about. I'm going to teach you how to access stuff on my website. This is a super important step. So you're going to go to the Rittenberg door. And those of you who've had me before, you know how to do this, but a few things have changed. You're going to go to the materials, scroll down to the class that you're in. So we're going to say, all right, U.S. history. Now, it's going to ask you for a password the first time you log in. And the password changes every year according to our new class mascot. So last year we had Atticus, our raven. Midway through the year last year, we ended up, you can see the sloths in the swing over there. The handmade one, her name is Juliet. Well, Juliet got a boyfriend this year. Juliet has found Romeo. So those are the Shakespearean sloths of love over there on the swing. And our password this year is Romeo. Capital R, Romeo. The reason we have a password is twofold. One, it protects I do purchase materials from other teachers, and it protects those copyright things. But there were also some, I'm sure, well-meaning and very resourceful homeschool parents that decided that they didn't want to take my class, they just wanted to use my stuff. So I applaud their resourcefulness. It was a very great way to save money because I know my classes are expensive, but I worked super hard. So please don't share my information. It's for people that are actually paying to take the class. So that's why there's the password. Okay, so you're going to go on the U.S. History site, and you're going to scroll down. The first document on the website is always the lesson plan that we're currently using. So you're going to download that and then open it. And it's going to open up the lesson plan. So you can see prior to the first day of class at home, there's nothing due. You're welcome. Okay? You don't have to do anything. So, but on the first day of class, this is what we're going to do. Then this is your homework for that week. And then this is what we're going to do. And then there's your homework for this week. All of the homework materials that you'll need will be listed on the website in the order that they appear on the lesson plan. So it's real organized that way for you, okay? So the last document will always be the MLA formatting document. I am really big on rubrics. A rubric is your checklist to make sure you've done the assignment the way that I want it done. It is how we determine your grades. So the rubric is really important. It is an automatic 20 points off if you don't use the rubric. So, and mom, or dad, or whoever is helping with homeschooling, you're supposed to read the rubric, read your student's paper, and sign off that you have done so. Just stapling an unsigned rubric doesn't get you the points that you need, okay? So it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be something that you're doing like Monday before, I know we print stuff off Thursday morning as you're running out the door, okay? I'm one of you, I get it. So, but don't have the rubrics be an afterthought, okay? They're super important. This year I brought on, we have 48 kids in this class, okay? Which I'm so excited about. Last year I had 42 to 44 depending on the week. And I loved it because it really brought in so many different opinions. I don't usually have classroom management issues, and it just allowed us to have this really dynamic, diverse group of kids and lots of great conversations. So don't be intimidated by how many kids we have. I have Miss Faith full time. I've also brought in a second essay grader. So you will have 2 people reading every essay. So my friend Mary Ann Russell, her daughter's taking British Lit this year. She is fantastic, way better than I am, with grading for grammar things and different voices and things like that. So your students are really gonna get a little bit more of that intense grading correction, and then I'll be reading it the second time and making comments too. So you're getting a little bit more for that too, and it's dividing the workload a little bit more evenly too. Okay, so that is what's going on with your grades there, or with your email, internet stuff, okay. Oh, please work for me. Okay, ThinkWave. All of the teachers here use the same online grade book. You will be getting from me a email that invites you to create an account for this class. And then if you're taking science, you'll have one that creates it for that class, but it'll be the same student, the same number. You'll be able to check their grades. That's how it's supposed to work. If you have trouble, let us know, we'll work it out. But you should have access to your students' grades at any time. So a few times last year, I had parents, they'd get their semester grade and they'd be like, well, how come I didn't know? Because you didn't check ThinkWave. So you have access to your students' grades all the time. With so many students, we can't always be telling you, hey, your kid's not turning in their homework. So you have access to check and monitor all of that too. We are going to strictly enforce a new homework policy. We kind of had it last year, but we didn't enforce it as much. But we've come up with a better way to monitor things. We are going to date stamp everything as it comes in. So we will know if you turned it in on time or not. If you turn it in a week late, I will always give a week of grace. If you decide that you're going on vacation or it's a beautiful day and let's shine school and go to the beach, that's why we homeschool. That's one of the reasons. Take advantage of that, okay? You always have a week of grace, but 2 weeks, you will get 50% credit. And then after that, don't bother turning it in because you're abusing us. So that's our homework policy and it will be enforced, okay? Students, and I'm saying this in front of your parents, your mom is not taking this class. So you are in high school, and so I don't want to hear my mom didn't print my lesson plan, or my mom didn't put it in my backpack, or we were out of ink, my mom didn't go to the store, all of that, okay? You are on your way to becoming responsible adults, and here is your time to practice that. So parents, within that, let the class be a tool to teach responsibility and time management. Please let your kids fail. Please resist the urge to do their work for them because you're worried that Mrs. Kaser is going to think you're a loser homeschool mom. Okay? I promise that I will applaud you for letting your student experience real life consequences. We are trying to train our children to become responsible adults and with real life consequences. So if they don't do their work, let them fail and suffer the consequences of that. Now, within reason, if there's an issue going on with your family, please come talk to me. I'm so gonna give you grace. If there's stuff that, I had a student, who was it? Somebody went to Thailand last year. It was Molly, went to Thailand, and I was like, please don't take schoolwork to Thailand. you're excused. Go enjoy Thailand. So that's how I'm going to operate, but also use this as a tool to teach other things besides just literature and history. Okay, tell me what I need to know about your student. I have several students with IEPs. I have found that it is far better for me to have a 10-minute conversation with a parent that knows and loves that student versus reading their IEP report, because the report doesn't really reflect who your student is and how we can make real life accommodations. So if your student has an IEP, if they have some sort of severe allergy, let me know. If you have a student that carries an EpiPen, something like that, important stuff, please let me know, because we need to know. If your student does not already have an email account of their own, they will need one by Thursday. So I send a lot of things via email. That's how I communicate with the students. They need to learn to check their email. If you have questions about that, you can come and talk to me about that, but your student will need an email for the class. Every year I take all my high school students, I offer this to all of them. My 9th grade class does a genocide project, a big genocide research project, and then I take them to the Museum of Tolerance every year. It's a really amazing field trip that we do, but I open it up to all of my students. So everyone's going to be invited to do that. Parents are welcome to go. It's fantastic. So that'll be in February. There is some sensitive content in the materials that we're going to read. I really try to not pick anything that I wouldn't want my own students to read, but we are reading adult literature. So particularly in American literature, we're dealing with a lot of slavery issues, so the N-word comes up all throughout our literature. So that's how people used to talk. That was a word that was part of everyone's vocabulary. So we are going to read it with respect, knowing that it's not a license to start using those types of words in our own houses. So just so you know, that is coming up. I don't think there's really much more other than that particular word. There may be a little bit of profanity in some of the stuff that we're reading, but it's very, very minimal. But that's the big issue that comes up a lot in American Lit. You made it. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, class library. We have a class library. You are welcome to check out books. Parents, you are welcome to check out my books. They're all donated books, so if you are cleaning out your shelves and you want to make a donation, I will absolutely take your books. But my disclaimer is that I have not read every book that is on my shelf, so I can't guarantee that it's going to fall in line with your own family's convictions on what you deem as appropriate for your own student to read. So if they bring a book home, don't think, oh, well, it was on Mrs. Kaiser's library, it must be okay. That's not necessarily the case. I really like Common Sense Media, the website Common Sense Media, because it outlines a lot of books that are most commonly read, and it'll tell you, so you don't have to read the whole book yourself. It'll let you know kind of what might be in it, and you can decide if it's appropriate for your student or not. Okay, for American literature specifically, I had some parents ask me, well, how did you choose the books that you're going to read? So this was my criteria. I first looked over the list of what does our state education board recommend or require. Some of them are required, some of them are recommended. But they're not all books that I even feel comfortable reading myself. I've read most of what's on their list, and some of them I'm appalled that they think it's appropriate content for high school students. So I didn't pick any of the stuff that would make my grandmother blush. So there isn't anything that is offensive on that level. And then honestly, I only teach books that I like. So, for example, we have to do the Scarlet Letter. It's just not my favorite. The storyline is really good, but the reading is like painful for me. So I taught it a few years ago and realized I don't ever want to teach this book again because I felt like I killed it for the kids too. So we're gonna give it a nod. I'm gonna do a fun activity with it. They're gonna know the story. We're gonna have some fun with it, and then we're moving on. So that's kind of how I gauge things in that. Our state in particular, a lot of with the Common Core stuff, one of the good things about Common Core is they are making more primary source texts. A primary source means like something that was actually written by that person at that time. So we are incorporating a little bit more of that and also a lot more nonfiction, which lends itself to some really great conversations in class too. So we will be doing some more of that stuff. For history, we are doing the entire history of our country in 30 weeks. Really more like 28 weeks by the time we throw in like Christmas party, introduction, and last day of school. So we have to fly fast. And what I found with a lot of history classes is they typically will they'll park in like the Revolution and the Civil War till like April, and they go, and then a bunch of stuff happened. There was World War II, and then the Vietnam War, and then George Bush, the end. And so I didn't want to do that, so I actually looked over last night and kind of reorganized some things so that we're spending at least half the year. I think we get through the Civil War by Christmas, and we're in World War II by second semester, and we're really anchoring ourselves in more current U.S. history, because it's really important to know what's happened in your parents' lifetime, with your grandparents on, because that's what's really affecting a lot of our lives now. So they're going to do a research project this year. It's something that we do in our history program every year, where they have to do a PowerPoint and they do a full oral presentation and research report. And I'm going to let them choose their subject, like we did with World War II last year. But they're gonna have from like civil rights on, and they're gonna get to choose something, and then they give the lecture, and we learn from one another. So, and the presentations aren't all gonna be at one time. As they're coming up in our history, a few kids are gonna get to do their presentation. So I'm really happy with how I reworked some things over the weekend, and I think it's gonna be a really comprehensive unit where we're gonna learn from each other, learn a lot of things of more recent history. So that's the plan with that. So with such a large class, not everyone's going to agree, and that's beautiful, because we're allowed to disagree with each other as Americans, but we will disagree with one another with respect. And just because we don't share the same opinions doesn't mean that that person that we disagree with is a moron. So, and we're gonna acknowledge that and learn from one another. I learned so much from your kids, where they will say something and I'll be like, oh, I've never thought about it like that. Gosh, that's, and I've changed my opinions on certain things because of what my students have shared. So we learn from each other, we always show one another respect, and celebrate that diversity that we have. Now with that, I want to encourage you parents to talk to your students about what they're learning, because their own worldviews about politics, about morality, about a lot of different things are being formed at home. You are still homeschooling. So talk with your kids and help them to formulate their own opinions and share yours. I really try to not share mine. That's not my place. I'm not going to be one of those teachers that uses this as a platform to voice my own political or religious views. They sometimes will ask me my opinions, and I don't usually share until after, if they really want to know, because that's not really my position. I want to encourage them to think for themselves, and you are their teachers. So make sure that you're having those important conversations with your students at home. We will be doing current event reports. These are a big deal. This year they're going to be worth 100 points. So we'll talk more about that, but when you know your student says they have their current event report, it is a 5-minute presentation that they give to the class up here in the front about something that is currently going on in America. So they're really fun. It keeps us current on what's happening. We learn some things that we may not know, but that will be coming up as well. I went to England this summer, and it was awesome. And I want to take some kids again. So I am just throwing this out there. If there are any students that would like to go on a field trip to England this summer, I'm considering, it's not a for sure thing, I'm throwing it out there to see if there's enough interest for me to spend the time to plan a trip. It would probably be about 10 days. This is me standing in front of Shakespeare's house, you guys. He was born there. I geeked out so crazy. It was so much fun, but yeah, so I got to take Ellie. It was fantastic. So I would love, love, love to take my students. Yes?
Is it educational, fun? What are you
Yes.
thinking? Okay.
Educational, but it won't be boring. I don't want education ever to be boring. So we'll do some fun things, like we will definitely go see Stratford. Stratford-upon-Avon was my favorite place. That's Shakespeare's birthplace. We will see a Shakespearean play from the Royal Shakespeare Theater. I have some friends that live up north, where like near the Bronte area, where we'll go to the Bronte's house. And the parsonage and the museum up there. It's beautiful. There's just a lot, but then we'll do Buckingham Palace and we'll do all that too. It's probably something I will offer every other year, maybe. I'm also maybe this would be the year to do to go to Washington, D.C., but a lot of my students have already been. So I'm looking at maybe doing both. So I'm throwing it out there to say, do you want me to try and put a trip together? It's not a guarantee yet. We actually have time because we're in 2 periods here, so. Yeah. If you have another one to go to, you may go. Yes. So the dates for that would be at the very end of May. We'd leave on Memorial Day-ish. Everything's ish right now. So to June 5th-ish. And it will be around $3,000-ish. So I will try to get that down, but I didn't want to lowball it and have you say, well, you said. So it's not going to be cheap, because airfare, hotels, food, travel, all of that, it adds up. So depending on how many kids, we'll see how many chaperones we might need. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, there is a form outside that you can fill out and see if you want to do something there. Like I mentioned in the overview, there is a really nice art school right around the corner. And if you have a student that maybe after the history class and the literature class, and they don't have something after, walking around the corner and taking an art class might be something that you're interested. I hope it works out, because I really want Ellie to do that. So if there's a form outside, and you can, yeah.
What's the name of the school?
It's called the Art Studio, and there's a little brochure out there. It's Art Studio. Yeah. I was very impressed when I walked in there and just seeing what they have. What were you going to say?
I don't think there's any brochure. Yeah, I think it's.
Oh, I wonder if somebody took it.
I see your form sign up.
Yeah, the form's out there. Is it still out there?
Somebody took it.
Somebody took it.
Okay, that's it.
I hope they use it. Okay.
If it's in this class, we won't look.
Right. Okay.
We thought it was a sign up, like a
Oh.
orientation sign up sheet. So I think that's why they probably might have.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. I don't care. If you are in a charter school and you have not yet put in your purchase order, please put in your purchase order, because payment is lovely. And those need to be in pretty soon. So get your purchase order turned in. Monthly payments are preferred, but lump sums are okay too. Also, if you are an independent homeschooler and you're paying for the class yourself, the first payment is due on the first day of school. And I sent you a schedule on that, so you should know about that. Just reiterating that outside of this classroom, Mrs. Lopez is in charge, and it's super, super important that we show her respect, even if she's your friend, and she tells you gotta move or whatever. Please listen to Mrs. Lopez, because she's the one who's making sure that the church lets us be here till I retire. I never want to move again. I want to stay here forever. So if we can keep things going well with the church here, and that's Mrs. Lopez's whole job. So please listen to Mrs. Lopez, parents and students. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
We would really be interested in a DC trip. I mean, is that something that could be a possibility, and when would that be?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because the DC trip then maybe would happen next year. I'm just not sure. So I was considering maybe I would alternate doing a DC trip one year and an England trip the following year. You would be okay if you're interested in the DC trip. Write that out there on the England. Just put like a DC trip next to that too, and we can see. Because I got to go to Washington D.C. this summer too. It was so good. I'd never been before. It was awesome. So super, super great. So I would love to do field trips for both. So if you're interested in either of those, please say so on the list out there. Yes.
Do the parents ever join you on the trip?
Sometimes I've never done a trip before, so I don't know. But I don't I don't think so. I think I really would like, it's not that I don't want parents to go, I'm not saying that, but there's something for letting your kids go and experience something like that. You know I'm gonna watch them. Like, I have pretty high standards on stuff too. And I will be very selective with which students I actually let go on the trip. So, and I might have to say no if there's certain kids. So, probably not most of yours, but I will reserve the right. So, for the sake of everyone else. So, yeah. So depending on how many students end up actually going, that can not just want to go, but that can afford it. I'm also talking about maybe working with Explorer field trips. You know, they're a charter school vendor, super great. But you can only, I think, spend like a certain amount, but we might be able to get our tours paid for with charter funds. So that might lower the cost too. So we're just looking at all of our options right now, but I didn't want to let me put together this whole thing and have everyone say thanks. No thanks. So we thought we'd throw it out there before we spent time putting something together. So if you're interested, sign up and then we'll see where we end up. I'll probably have a meeting in a few weeks. We'll see. Okay? Other questions?
Well, just along those lines, maybe we could organize some fundraisers if there are some.
Yeah,
parents that are
absolutely.
interested.
Absolutely. Yeah, great idea. Yes.
Can I see if the students would be interested in an environmental club?
Yes.
Go along with Project
Yes.
Recycle?
So if there are other clubs or different things that students or parents want, here's the place to have it. So I want that to be, I want our campus to really be all the stuff that's good about high school and filter out what part of the reason why we're homeschooling. So that's really what we want to create here. Are there going to be cliques? Yes. Because we congregate with the people that are like us. But what I really have loved about this particular group of high schoolers is that, yeah, they've got their groups of kids that they hang out with, but there's not like tension. You know, you've got kids that like this certain thing, so that's what they do, and they all hang out with each other, but there's not like oh, you're not one of my kind. At least I haven't seen that, and my kids have been in this group. So there's a lot of really good things going on here. So, oh, one thing I forgot to say. Look what Roy Mears built. This is the cell phone jail. If I take your cell phone, and you know that I will, if your cell phone is out in class. Now, I had several students go, well, it's my mom. Okay, mom, you don't need to text your kid when they're in my class, unless there's an emergency. And if there's an emergency, text me. And then I'll see it, and I'll tell your kid to call you. So, if there's texting or scrolling Instagram, and then I'm sorry if my lecture's boring you, but that doesn't mean you should be scrolling Instagram in the middle of class. I will take your phone and your mom will come and get it because it'll be in jail. Okay? I love this so much. He just dropped it off this morning. So, yeah. So, anyone else? Thank you. Any questions? All right, well, you are free to go. Thank you so much for coming, and we will see you on Thursday, students. Mine too. I gave it to one of my students.
What time Thursday? I'm the second party to the email. This is why I have to take some notes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear
what
you.
time is it on Thursday?
So Thursday,
For her class. Oh, and then I'll need your phone number in case there is an emergency.
and she's going to want to be here at 11 o'clock.
Oh, 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock.
Next Thursday. Okay, thank you so much. Okay.
I do. In the back corner there on the right, go take whatever you need. Whichever ones you need. For your class. I don't have any for mine, but your biology text. I think I have the chemistry. There you can take it. The very big one in Spanish.
out west. I'm gonna try. My goal is to always try, but because you're so understanding, I'm kind of making. I'm not telling you, but I'm making your class a little more anyways. Like I'm holding up to chemistry. Well, he's gonna have Sarah in the same living room doing the same work. So I'd like him to try, but not to the point where we're up at 2 a.m. and he's crying. I told her to work you hard.
This is such a great talk.
I told him to get dressed up. We're gonna dress nice. We're gonna take your picture today, and it comes out very nice. Okay, so you know it's right. God bless you. Thank you. Did Seth get to see the video of the song he put together for me?
Yes.
I tagged you.
Yes.
Okay.
So great.
The dance that you did with Sarah, the surprise dance at the King's Head, her son is the one that spliced all the songs together. Amazing track. So thank you for letting me know.
Good to see you guys. Have a good day.
You know, one last thing, just I thought of it, but the writing assignments, you said somebody else was going to help. Is there an opportunity, or will there be some assignments where they don't have to worry about the grade the first time around, so they can just make it be pure them, and then do the changes and
First, I'd say it's just hard to grade under the advice. So I get what you're saying, and I do that in the ninth class. That first essay is really good. I kind of
that's what made me think of it. I really liked that.
Second week of class.
Just so they could not be afraid to make the mistake and try it, and then
Thank you. All right. You guys,
okay, we're going to Mrs. Challenge's house to do that.
I don't get any email. I kind of forgot. I think that this came out of my head. What I did was I didn't actually send the email. So I'm going to write that's right. Did I spell it right? If there was any other email that would be helpful that you sent, I will make sure that you get that. But it's just right. I like to see that in my email.